So, ladies and gentlemen, today I am so excited because I have an individual who has literally kind of like is a reflection of me, because when I saw his videos on Dr. Arjun Pai's channel, I'm like, wow, he's like cutting to the point. He's like showing us exactly the meat of the information. And he's just brilliant, especially with his prashna techniques. And I'm just happy that he's here. So, Mr. Bharat, thank you for coming on my channel.
Thank you very much, Kapil. I'm greatly delighted to be on your channel after having followed it continuously since perhaps the year 2012. So I'm really delighted, to meet you online. Of course, I've been watching you, but meeting you online live is a different experience. So Thank you very much, Kapil.
Absolutely. So how did your love for, astrology, nakshatra, KP, all of these started?
Kapil, I started learning astrology on my own from about the year 2000. For 2000 to 2008, I learned mainly from books, but my astrology went nowhere. I learned nothing. Then in 2008, 2009, I did a one-year course in Parashara astrology. Okay, I learned about the D1 to D60, but at the end of the course, I could predict nothing. So I really felt whether astrology works at all, because finally I want to be able to predict. I don't want to know the purpose of birth of the soul. Those are too esoteric for me.
Yeah.
I want to be able to predict marriage, job, career, relationships, and all these things. And at the end of the one-year program, I could predict nothing. Then somebody told me, if you want to make a prediction with a date, you have to learn KP. And so that is Krishnamurti Paddhati. And then I joined a Krishnamurti Paddhati course, which was being done by the son of Professor K.S. Krishnamurti, who really formulated the Krishnamurti Paddhati system. And in the Krishnamurti Paddhati course, Kapil, I found the nirvana of astrology. I said, wow, this is what I want to learn, because here there is a step-by-step method to predict with a date and time. So I really found the nirvana of astrology. And I really spent the next 5 years or so delving as deeply as possible into Krishnamurti Paddhati. And I was pretty happy with the results I got, because finally I was able to tell somebody, when will you get a job, when will you get married, when will you have a child, etc. And then I did a course with Dr. Arjun Pai on nakshatras. Now, Krishnamurti Paddhati is a nakshatra astrology, but with the nakshatra course, I was able to put a feature of every nakshatra into my prediction, which really acted as a force multiplier for Krishnamurti Paddhati. It was a complete force multiplier. My ability to interpret a horoscope improved manifold, several times over. And last 2 years, I've been trying to learn as much as possible about the nakshatras. And I think anybody who learns astrology must know nakshatras, because without nakshatras, astrology is incomplete.
Yes, absolutely true.
So that's my journey, and it continues.
Wow. And so, that's something that's pretty neat. You said, like, after learning the whole course of Parashara and learning all the divisional charts, you still didn't get it. And I feel the same way. So I want to know, what's your opinion on like divisional charts, like when you read about Navamsha and Drikana and Dasamsha? What have you learned this far of what these charts really are?
You see, I've learned pretty much what is generally known about these charts. D1 for all aspects of life, Navamsha for really looking at relationships, Navamsha also for looking at the inner self. The D1 talks about the outside matters, what is manifested to the world.
Yeah.
The D9 really talks about how you feel internally. The Dashamsa chart can be analyzed like a normal D1 chart for purposes of career. And of course, the D45 and the D60 also can be used for all aspects of life, like a D1 chart can be used, but it is at a more spiritual level. So all this is fine, but my problem with that is that how do you give a date?
Yeah.
how do you come to a date? So I have always been grappling with the date, because for me, I cannot tell people that you will marry when transit Jupiter goes over natal Venus. I mean, that's a that's a very
Broad statement, yeah.
long, yeah, broad spectrum and broad statement. So it's good, but it's not so good in a
Yeah.
sense.
Okay. Wow. And is learning KP complicated? Does it take a long time, like Parashara, if somebody wants to learn KP, or is it much more simpler than what you learned?
No, I taught KP on Cosmic Insights in 6 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, so KP I think is the simplest, especially if you know Parashara and your foundations are there.
Yeah.
When I learned KP, I had to learn it from the beginning, from the houses and this and that and all that, and the
Yeah.
calculations. I learned manual calculations, which are extremely tedious. But now, of course, there are KP specific Placidus house division software, which can, do the calculations for you. And as a predictive technique, KP can be learned in just a few hours, maybe 1 hour, maybe 2 hours, 3 hours. That's it. And
My
you can learn it properly.
wow.
Yeah. So it's a
Wow,
very
I didn't
simple
know that.
technique.
I'm pretty sure people are now going to ask you, when are you going to teach that next? Because
Yeah, sure.
tons.
Whenever you'd like, because it's a very simple technique, and I think people should learn it, because unless you can predict an event with a date, and the date can go wrong, which is a different thing, but unless you can predict an event with a narrow date, what are you predicting? I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think you're predicting much.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So today you are going to show us some new things about nakshatras.
Yes. Shall I begin my presentation?
Yes, absolutely.
Um, let me just share my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yes. Yes.
So I've got a short presentation, relatively speaking. I will cover 28 nakshatras in about 30 minutes. The about means it could be 45 minutes also, depending upon the speed at which we travel through the zodiac. I have about 2, 3, or 4 points per nakshatra, and I have so few points because I've tried to give points which are generally not available in textbooks or other authors' works. I am not able to promise that none of it will be available elsewhere, but this is what my attempt has been, to give certain new points pertaining to nakshatra. So 28, because there is 27 plus Abhijit nakshatra. I've included Abhijit nakshatra.
Okay.
There are some images in my presentation which are all royalty free.
Okay.
And which are sourced from pexels.com or pixbabe.com, and their site specifically mentions that these can be used commercially and royalty free.
Perfect.
Okay, so I will begin my first nakshatra with Uttarabhadrapada. Uttarabhadrapada, because the moon is transiting via Uttarabhadrapada today and just now. So I'll just begin with Uttarabhadrapada, which is signified by the twins. They are signified by the twins because they are like two heads in one, double horsepower or double brain power. These people are highly intelligent people. They're highly knowledgeable people. And like Vasuki, the serpent guards the earth's treasure under the ocean. These are people who guard, their knowledge, or they have a lot of knowledge, which they generously share with other people. The other trait about Uttarabhadrapada is that these people may have a slow gait. They have a slow gait because the deity is Ahir Budanya. Ahir Budanya is an ocean monster, which moves very slowly through the sea. So they may have a slow gait. And Ahir Budanya is connected with Ketu. And the placement of Ketu for the Uttarabhadrapada natives is very important in their natal chart. If they have moon in Uttarabhadrapada, then the placement of Ketu becomes very important. For example, Bill Gates has moon in Uttarabhadrapada, and his Ketu is in the 11th house of gains, in Taurus Rashi. Taurus is controlled by Venus, and Venus is the Karaka for information technology. And his Ketu is placed in Mrigashira Nakshatra. People with Mrigashira Nakshatra are very good at charting a course. So Bill Gates really charted a course using his knowledge of maths and computer programming in the IT sector, and which is what made him world famous.
Okay. Wow.
So that is Uttarabhadrapada, the first nakshatra. First nakshatra, not from the zodiac viewpoint, but because moon is transiting Uttarabhadrapada today. And after Uttarabhadrapada,
Can you go back to the other one?
Yes.
You said this is connected to Ketu, but isn't Uttarabhadrapada ruled by Saturn?
Yeah, Uttarabhadrapada is ruled by Saturn, but the deity is Ahirbudnya.
Oh, and who's connected to Ketu? Okay.
Yeah, because serpent. It's a serpent which is connected with Ketu.
Okay.
So these natives, for these natives, one must look at the placement of Ketu, because that would
see.
A lot of clues in the chart.
Okay.
Okay. Then we look at Revati Nakshatra. Revati is, the symbol is the fish. One of the features of Revati Nakshatra is that in a new environment, they tend to remain aloof or hide from others. One of the features. The other thing is that they may have broken or damaged front tooth or teeth. They may have broken or damaged teeth. The third point about Revati is that a Revati lady's spouse is generally shorter than her. They are generally shorter than her because there's a very interesting story. Revati was the daughter of King Kadumi, who was like a celestial king, and he thought that his daughter was not meant to marry a human. So he went to Lord Brahma in the heavens, and he requested an audience, and he was told that Lord Brahma is now busy with the Gandharvas listening to some music. So he was asked to wait, and he waited for some time, and when Brahma met him, he said, I would like you to suggest who my daughter can marry on earth. So Lord Brahma said, look, you think you've been waiting only for a few minutes, but time passes differently here in the heaven compared to on earth. So while you've been waiting, earth has changed completely and several generations have passed. So when you go back to the earth, you will not find any of those people you knew earlier. So your daughter cannot obviously marry anyone you have in mind. So he said, I have a suggestion. Vishnu has just taken the avatar of Krishna, and he has gone to earth, and his serpent, Vishnu's serpent, has taken the form of Balram, and he has also gone to earth. So I suggest that your daughter marry Balram. And because Revati was from a different era, thousands of years prior, where people used to be taller, and in this era people were shorter. So when she married Balram, she found that Balram was shorter than her, because Balram was from a different era on earth. So that is why Revati ladies generally have a spouse who may be shorter than her.
Okay.
I will come to now Ashwini Nakshatra, which is the first nakshatra. Ashwini Nakshatra, the symbol is the horse, and they are the best people to be appointed as the head of a task force. So if a task force is organized for any purpose, then if an Ashwini native is appointed as the head of the task force, they will do very well, and the task force may be able to achieve its job quite well. The second point is that Ashwini natives love honey, or may be required to consume honey as a medication. And the third point is that while talking, they like to look at themselves in a mirror. So these are the three traits which I think are important in an Ashwini native. They like to look at themselves in a mirror, because Ashwini were the twins, and when people look at themselves in a mirror, they see their twin. So that is why they like looking at themselves in a mirror. Bharani Nakshatra, one of the important things about Bharani Nakshatra is that it is connected with Yama, the god of death. And Yama, the god of death, rides a buffalo, and when he comes to take away a life from earth, he comes with a noose. He places the noose over the neck of the person who he wants to take away. So a noose is a very important thing with the Bharani Nakshatra. For example, if Bharani Nakshatra is connected, if the moon is in Bharani Nakshatra, or Bharani Nakshatra is connected with the 7th house, then there is some problem with either the necklace or the garland during the process of marriage.
Oh,
Something happens with the necklace, or either the necklace doesn't come, or the garland doesn't come, or it breaks, or something happens.
kind of like a Mangal Sutra.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Okay.
right. That's right. So something with that happens during the marriage of a Bharni native. For example, if Bharni is connected with the third house of handwriting, then the native may have a very loopy, noose-like loopy handwriting. So the key point is a noose plays a noose-like object plays a very important role with a Bharni Nakshatra native.
Okay.
They all have a very large family generally, and they also have a very large appetite. So this is Bharni Nakshatra. I'll come to Kritika Nakshatra. Kritika Nakshatra natives express displeasure by stomping their foot. So this is, I've seen with many Kritika Nakshatra natives, they stomp their foot. They have a very sharp long-term memory, and they're very good at remembering faces. And fasting on 6 consecutive Kritika Nakshatra days can give progeny to a couple. Of course, you have to attempt for conception during this period. But fasting during 6 consecutive Kritika Nakshatra days can give progeny if there is a problem in getting children.
Okay.
So that is Kritika Nakshatra. Then we come to Rohini Nakshatra, where the symbol is an ox cart. They may seriously consider surrogate motherhood or foster motherhood. It's a very serious possibility for a Rohini Nakshatra person. They're very devoted parents till early childhood, and not so much after the early childhood. And Rohini Nakshatra natives separate early from parents, like the former American President Barack Obama is a Rohini Nakshatra, and he separated quite early from his parents. And a father-in-law's curse is extremely dangerous for a Rohini native. So you've got to really ensure that you are on good terms with your father-in-law.
Oh, okay.
That's another trait of a Rohini Nakshatra native. Okay. I'll come to Mrigashira Nakshatra. Mrigashira is the antelope's head. Mrigashira Nakshatra, as I mentioned in the case of, in an earlier case of Bill Gates, they are very good at reading maps, and they have an extremely keen sense of direction. And they are very good at track and field events. I looked at the chart of Marion Jones, who was earlier the world's fastest woman, who won 5 medals in the Australia 2000 Summer Olympics. She has Mars in Mrigashira. So anyone who has a key planet, the Lagna Lord, or Moon or Sun in Mrigashira, they are extremely good at track and field events, the steeplechase, the 100 meters dash, 200 meters dash, the 400 meters, etc. Okay. They're very good at running and similar activities. Come to Arudra. Arudra, women with prominent Arudra may sometimes show sign of pregnancy even when they are not pregnant. And this in medical terms is called pseudocyesis. Pseudocyesis is when a woman thinks she is pregnant, but she is actually not. And this is connected with Arudra Nakshatra. And an Arudra native is also highly prone to mood swings. This is another important trait of an Arudra Nakshatra, where the symbol is the human head.
Okay.
I'll come to Punarvasu, where the quiver full of arrows is the symbol. And adoption is very common under a Punarvasu Nakshatra. The natives can take a very quick decision to adopt, and they can adopt very easily. And they keep on, they move from one health fad to another health fad, one diet to another kind of diet. So they keep changing their diet in search of a diet nirvana. So they keep changing their diet and keep changing the food habits.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Pushya Nakshatra, Pushya Nakshatra natives benefit immensely if they consume the amla or the Indian gooseberry. The Indian gooseberry is one of the most nutritious, highly densely packed with vitamin C, and they benefit immensely because one of the other names of Pushya is called Tishya, and Tishya means the Indian gooseberry or the amla.
Okay.
Okay, so they benefit, anyone who's a Pushya Nakshatra native, or let us say is running the Dasha of the moon, then they will benefit immensely if they consume the amla. Monogamy is not, or sticking to one partner is not a trait of Pushya Nakshatra. Even though, it is connected with Brihaspati, but monogamy is not a trait which is connected with Pushya Nakshatra. And Pushya Nakshatra natives are highly flamboyant.
Okay.
Aslesha. Aslesha is the coiled serpent, and Aslesha natives consume or should consume the spirulina. Spirulina is the most complete food one can get from any plant. It is an algae which grows in a spiral form, and Aslesha is a spiral form. So it's a algae which grows in water and which grows in a spiral form, and World Health Organization has considered it to be one of the most important food for a vegetarian, especially people who do not consume any non-vegetarian food, because it gives a consumer 18 out of 23 amino acids which are required by the human body, and there is no other comparable vegetarian source of such densely packed nutrients.
Okay.
So spirulina becomes very important for an Aslesha native, and they could also be very keen on activating their kundalini or meditation or spiritual practices. So they could be very keen in that area.
What is is there a Hindi name for the spirulina?
There is no Hindi name for spirulina. In India, it is sold as spirulina. Okay. So it's refined, and then it's a little poisonous if it is consumed without proper refining. So it's refined and sold in capsules or tablets.
Oh, okay.
So it's easy to consume it.
Okay.
Yeah. Maga is symbolized by the palanquin. People of Maga Nakshatra, they make friends very easily, and they hate being separated from them. And they may speak in very low tones, and they may suffer from bruxism, which is grinding their teeth when they are asleep. So these are 3 traits of Maga Nakshatra.
Okay.
Then we have Purva Falguni. Purva Falguni, the symbol is the hammock. If you look at a Purva Falguni native, if you look at their desktop, the computer desktop, you will find so many icons spread all over the desktop. It's very cluttered. Even if you look at the table is extremely cluttered. The table is very cluttered because they have a tendency to hoard. It's symbolized by the rat, and the rat has the habit of whatever it finds, it just takes it into its hole, deciding later what it has to do with it. So the tendency to hoard comes from the animal symbol of the rat. So they have a lot of clutter in the workspace. They buy something even if it is not required, and they have a scar or a mark near the eye. And they are fashionistas. They believe in dressing up well and very fashionably. So these are some of the traits of a Purva Falguni Nakshatra native.
Okay.
Then Uttara Falguni natives are perfectionists. They will ensure every I is dotted, every T is crossed, and they have an eye for detail. And they have a strong sense of smell, and they may dislike perfume. Unlike Mrigashira, which likes perfume, these people, they dislike perfume, and they are very aggressive and very unpredictable. That's Uttara Falguni for you.
Okay.
Hasta Nakshatra, the symbol is the palm. They may take fencing as a sport, because one of the meanings of the word Hasta is the spear. So any form of sport which uses a spear, like javelin throw, for example,
Yeah.
or fencing or sword fighting, these interest a Hasta native very much. And they will benefit from the Bhastrika pranayam. Bhastrika is the meaning of the word Bhastrika is a bellow. You know, the bellow with which you used to fan the fire, which forces fire into a furnace. That's a bellow. And if you do Bhastrika pranayam, uh, Hasta natives will gain. And Hasta natives are generally very punctual.
Okay.
Chitra Nakshatra. Chitra Nakshatra natives are very good at queuing up. They're very disciplined when it comes to queuing up, and they're very disciplined at the dinner table. They will ensure that the women and children eat first before they start eating. Or they ensure that the younger people eat first before they start eating. Very disciplined at the dinner table. They're very good at ambush marketing or guerrilla warfare. So if they are in the military or part of the marketing setup in a company, they're good at ambush marketing. In the military, they are good at guerrilla warfare, taking the enemy by surprise. And they could be extremely good mimics.
Okay.
Then Swati Nakshatra. Swati Nakshatra natives spend a long time in the bathtub. They like to soak for a long time. And they're very good with multiple, they could be, quite adept at playing multiple music instruments. And they could have in their homes, or they may like to have in their homes, a medicinal herb garden.
Why do they like to spend time in the tub?
Because the buffalo likes to spend a lot of time in the water.
Okay, because
It's
it's
very,
buffalo.
yeah, buffalo. So it's very difficult to get the buffalo out of water.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Vishaka Nakshatra. Vishaka, the deity is Indragni. These are binary deities. Indra is 0, Agni is 1. There are no shades of gray in between. Indra is very, flamboyant. Indra wants to enjoy life. While Agni is all about purity. Agni is all about restraint. So there is a great amount of internal conflict within a Vishaka Nakshatra native. Great deal of internal conflict and turmoil always going on within a Vishaka Nakshatra native, because either the Indra part is pulling the Vishaka native, or the Agni part is pulling the Vishaka native. Indra is
Like
0.
the tree branch splitting.
Exactly. So there is no convergence. So there's a lot of internal conflict. And they're always in a state of readiness. Like Arjun was always focused on the eye of the fish. When Arjun was asked, what do you see? He said, I see the eye of the fish. He did not say, I see the fish. He said, I see the eye of the fish. So they are always in a state of readiness. That is a Vishaka Nakshatra native.
Okay.
Anuradha Nakshatra. You see, Saddam Hussein had Moon, Mars and Rahu in Anuradha Nakshatra. He was asked, why did you attack Kuwait? He said, when I get something into my head, I act. That defines Anuradha Nakshatra. When they get something into their head, they act. So the other thing about Anuradha Nakshatra is they have a do list and they have a don't list. The do list is Yama, and the don't list is Yama, and the do list is Niyama. So they follow all the rules and regulations, very good at following all the rules and regulations. But at the same time, when something gets into their head, they act, they react, and they enact it out. Jyeshta Nakshatra. Jyeshta Nakshatra is not a team player. They fail to acknowledge the contribution of others. Jyeshta Nakshatra natives are generally haughty. They change their profession frequently and they're uncertain about their goals. So essentially not a team player, and essentially don't like to acknowledge that the contribution others may have made in their work, and haughty. So that is a Jyeshta Nakshatra native. See, Mula Nakshatra native have an interest in tightrope walking. Tightrope walking means you put a rope from one end of Niagara Falls to the other end of Niagara Falls, and somebody with a bamboo or with a stick balances on a single rope and crosses Niagara Falls. So that is tightrope walking. Mula Nakshatra natives are extremely good at tightrope walking. There's a very famous French acrobat who died recently, Henri Rechantin, who spent 185 days on a tightrope, which was at a height of 25 meters above a supermarket in France. He spent 185 days on a tightrope. So,
constantly.
yeah, constantly. He was sitting on one single rope at a height of 25 meters, and he spent 185 days on
And
that
he slept
rope.
on it too?
Yeah, he did everything there.
Wow.
He didn't get off from the rope for 185 days at a height of 25 meters. So whether it is a physical tightrope walking or a figurative tightrope walking where you're balancing so many things in life, you're very good at balancing things in life. That is Mula Nakshatra. And that is Mula Nakshatra because the symbol of Mula Nakshatra is the bunched root. The function of the root of a plant is not only to get nutrients from the soil, but it is also to balance the plant. So balancing is a very important trait of a Mula Nakshatra. The other point about Mula Nakshatra is that Mula Nakshatra natives like to use curtains or draperies with a tassel, or they may like to use a bookmark with a tassel. You know, the tassel looks like the
A
tassel
little
looks,
rope that goes between the book. Yeah.
this is a tassel.
Okay.
Um, uh, yeah, this is the tassel.
Oh, so you must be a Mula Nakshatra.
So that's a tassel. Purva Ashada. Purva Ashada have a prominent mustache, like Hitler had a prominent mustache, like Bhagwan Shri Rajneesh had a prominent mustache. Of course, Paul Newman and Dustin Hoffman are Purva Ashada, but they did not have a mustache in real life, but they sported some very good mustache in their movies. And women, Purva Ashada, you know, they may need electrolysis to get rid of upper lip hair. And more than any other nakshatra, Purva Ashada natives love to floss their teeth. They love to floss their teeth.
Okay.
Uttara Ashada, the symbol is the elephant's tusk. Muhammad Ali said, the boxer Muhammad Ali, he said, I float like a butterfly and I sting like a bee. He said, the hands can't hit what the eyes can't see. So essentially he was saying, I am so fast in the ring that I float like a butterfly and sting the opponent like a bee. And he says the opponent cannot hit me because their eyes can't see me moving. I'm so quick. So essentially, Uttara Ashada natives are extremely swift in their actions. Muhammad Ali and George Foreman, two of the greatest boxers ever, they had their son in Uttara Ashada. And former President Abraham Lincoln had his moon in Uttara Ashada, and he was a wrestler before he became president. So in wrestling also, you need extremely good reflexes, and they have trouble in getting along with Rohini and Aslesha natives.
Okay. Why is that? Why don't they get along with Rohini and Aslesha?
Because, you know, the animal symbology clashes. Okay. The animal symbology clashes because, for example, Aslesha is a snake, yeah. Whereas Uttara Ashada, I think, is Uttara Ashada is mongoose. Is a mongoose.
Yes.
Uttara Ashada is a mongoose. So, you know, the animal symbology doesn't suit at all.
What does Rohini represents animal-wise?
Snake.
Snake, okay.
Yeah, Rohini is a snake.
Okay.
Yeah. And Abhijit Nakshatra. Abhijit Nakshatra is a non-existent nakshatra, but at some point of time it existed. There's a very important story about Abhijit Nakshatra, which I'm sure you would know, but for the benefit of your viewers, I'll still repeat it. That just before the Mahabharat war was about to begin, Duryodhan, who was from the Kauravas, from one side of the family, who are about to fight the Pandavas, Duryodhan, who was the head of the Kauravas, went to Sahadev, who was from the Pandavas. He went to Sahadev because Sahadev was a very great astrologer. So even though they were enemies, Duryodhan went to Sahadev the Pandava and said, Sahadev, can you tell me when should I begin this battle that we are going to start in the next few days so that I win the battle? And Sahadev, because he was an astrologer, he was duty bound to give the correct answer. So he said, if you want to win this battle, you have to commence this battle when the moon transits through Abhijit Nakshatra. If you do that, then you will win the battle. And Krishna happened to hear it. And he was aghast, because if Duryodhan had started the battle of Kurukshetra when the moon was transiting via Abhijit Nakshatra, the Kauravas would have won. And he had to stop it. In order to stop the Kauravas from starting the battle when the moon was transiting via Abhijit Nakshatra, he dissolved the Abhijit Nakshatra. He exploded the Abhijit Nakshatra. So today only a faint trace of Abhijit Nakshatra is left. And it is said that Krishna put the Abhijit Nakshatra into a peacock feather and put the peacock feather on his crown. So whenever you see Krishna's photo, you see a peacock feather on his head. So apparently that is Abhijit Nakshatra, which now graces the headgear of Krishna.
So in the sky is the most faintest nakshatra.
Yeah, it is actually, it doesn't even form the path of the, it doesn't form the part of the path where the moon traverses now. You know, it's a little away now, which is why earlier it was being considered in the calculation, which is why we had 28 nakshatras earlier, and which is why we have 27 now, because Abhijit does not even fall in the path and it's not even visible.
Wow.
So it is just a faint energy which still has a very important role to play in astrology, because whenever moon transits via Abhijit Nakshatra, which is the last pada of Uttara Ashada and the first 1 degree of Shravana.
Okay.
So when moon transits through that part, which is the last pada of Uttara Ashada and the first 1 degree of Shravana, then you call it Abhijit Nakshatra.
Okay.
So people who are born in Abhijit Nakshatra, which is part Uttara Ashada and part Shravana, they may face financial problems till the age of 27. They're extremely magnanimous. They have penetrating looks. They're extremely learned, and they are undefeatable, because Abhijit means undefeatable. We have former American President Barack Obama, who had his moon in Abhijit Nakshatra, and we know that he is almost undefeatable. I mean, even after he's given up presidency, he's considered to be amongst the best presidents.
Yeah.
Of course, that is my perspective. I don't know your perspective, but I think that's
I feel the same. Yeah.
And we have Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who is a British crime fiction writer, who even many years after his death, his Sherlock Holmes series is still world famous. Undefeatable.
Oh, they're still making series on them.
Exactly. So undefeatable. Not only was he an extremely good crime fiction writer, he was also a practicing doctor. He was a very good cricket player, and he was an extremely good football player. So truly, people who are born with an important planet or sun, moon, lagna, lord, etc. in Abhijit Nakshatra, they are a considerable force to reckon with.
Now, what I wanted to ask you, if let's say somebody wanted to start a business or commence some new project, can they take this particular degree to start it as a Abhijit, even though it doesn't exist? Or should they more care about like Pushya Nakshatra or, some other Nakshatra, Rohini Nakshatra, to commence some new project?
See, it is very good to commence when the moon transits via Abhijit, okay? But more important than Abhijit Nakshatra is also Abhijit Muhurta.
Muhurta, which is like midnight time period.
Yeah, midnight or midday.
Midday, yeah.
So when is not the clock time, but the time when the sun is at mid heavens, sun is straight up, which could vary, may not be exactly dovetailing with the clock time. It may be slightly different, 10-15 minutes here and there, because it depends upon your latitude and longitude, etc.
Okay.
So normally 24 minutes before 12 noon and 24 minutes after 12 noon, and
Yeah.
24 minutes before midnight and 24 minutes after midnight.
Okay.
But Abhijit, Nakshatra itself is very good when moon transits 6 degrees 40 minutes to 10 degrees 53 minutes 20 seconds Capricorn.
Okay. Perfect.
Shravana Nakshatra. Shravana Nakshatra natives are extremely devoted to their parents. They are very good administrators, and they may limp when Shravana is connected with the 12th house or the 6th house, and they will do very well if they listen to their guru or teacher.
So why is the limb connected to the 6th house as well? The 12th house, I can understand its feet.
Yeah, the 6th house of disease, there may be some.
Okay, some problem with the legs. Okay.
Yeah. Because the Shravana Nakshatra, the symbol is the ear, but the symbol is also the 3 steps.
Oh, the 3 steps, yeah.
3 steps of Vishnu, yeah.
Okay.
3 very, very broad steps.
Broad steps, yeah.
Yeah. A Dhanishta native will not leave his family or her family easily. This is despite the fact that they may have bad marriage karma or delayed or a difficult marriage, but they will still not leave their family easily. Dhanishta natives are always true to their word. What they do, what they say is what they do. And Dhanishta natives are extremely youthful looking. They are youthful looking. One of the reasons is that in Tamil, in the language Tamil, Dhanishta Nakshatra is called Avittam. And Avittam is the root of the sedge herb, which is used for making chavanprash, which is a kind of concoction which you eat to maintain your youth. Yeah, so they are extremely youthful looking, Dhanishta Nakshatra. Satabhisha Nakshatra, if they have an illness, it could be related to hormonal imbalances. That is Satabhisha Nakshatra. The symbol is an empty circle. They may be snake oil salesmen. Snake oil salesmen are those salesmen who give you a spiel which is vastly different from what the product can offer. So, they sell goods fraudulently. So fraudulent or quack salesmen may be connected with Shatabhisha Nakshatra. And if Rahu, the lord of Shatabhisha, is connected with Purva Falguni or Uttara Falguni, then the term confined to the bed may apply in some manner or another, which you've got to really look at situationally.
Okay.
Purva Bhadrapada. Purva Bhadrapada, the symbol is the sword, and they stand normally with all the weight on one foot, and they like practicing the Vrikshasana, or the 1 foot yogic pose, where the person has to stand on 1 foot. They have an anger which is beyond their control. Even they don't know why they get angry so much. They really get violently angry, and that anger is not really within their control. And they like using an ottoman or a footstool, and they are excellent dancers. So that is Purva Bhadrapada.
Okay.
So I think we have covered all the 28 nakshatras in about 30 minutes.
Wow, 2 minutes. Oh, you were over 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you able to unshare the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is excellent. One thing I wanted to ask you, I remember I was watching this video with Dr. Arjun Pai about a student asking you about the score of their competitive exams. And you told him to pick a number between 1 and 256.
49.
49. What is that? And there was one from 1 to 200 and something. Can you speak about that particular concept?
Yeah. You see, Professor Krishnamurti divided the zodiac into 249 parts.
Yes.
So you ask the querent, give me a number from 1 to 249. So if the querent gives a particular number between 1 and 249, that places the lagna at a particular position. So that fixes the lagna.
Okay.
So once the lagna gets fixed at a particular position, suppose you give me a number today,
Like 20.
let's say you give me the number 20.
Yeah.
Now let us say I will see the number 20 in the book. See, the number 20 places the lagna in the sign of Mars, okay, in the nakshatra of Venus, and in the subdivision, which is the pada. There are many padas in Krishnamurti Padati. There are not 9 padas, but many padas.
Okay.
In the pada of moon. So the lagna is placed between, the lagna is placed in Mars sign, sun nakshatra, and moon sublord. Okay, sublord. So the nakshatra, sorry, the lagna gets fixed at a particular point. You give me the number today, but let's say I make the prediction tomorrow. Okay, so the lagna gets fixed exactly at the same point because the 20 doesn't change. So lagna gets fixed at that point,
Yeah.
but tomorrow the planetary positions may have changed from today.
Yeah.
So it works on the principle that the astrologer must cast the horoscope with the number he has received from the querent, not at the querent's location. The chart must be cast at the astrologer's location. Okay, and the astrologer will be able to cast the chart at his location only when the planetary configuration is right to give you the result. So what happens is, when I practice Krishnamurti Padati, normally if I get 2 requests, I should attend to the first request first and the second request second in sequential order.
Mm-hmm.
But I normally find that I may take up the second request first and the first request many days later, 5 days later, because the planets don't allow you to answer the question at any other time other than the time when the planetary combination is placed in such a manner that you can get the result.
Okay.
So you can cast the horoscope not when you want, but when the planets allow you to cast the horoscope so that they are in a position to reveal the answer to you. So with Krishnamurti Padati, one important thing is, don't be in a hurry to cast the horoscope. You will automatically get compelled to cast the horoscope when the time is right, because we know that events happen only when planets are aligned to your karmas. Unless they are aligned to the karmas, you cannot. If a child is born when the planets are aligned to the karma of the child, only then the child can be born, because the child has to do a particular job on earth.
Yeah.
So even in Prashna, in KP, you may give me the question today and I may promise you, Kapil, I will get back to you tomorrow. But either if you force the the answering of the question, you could go wrong. So when I answer KP, I don't go first in first out. I say I feel right about the moment now, so I am going to
feeling that, okay, I'll get back to you in 2 days or something.
Yeah, exactly. So I always say 7-8 days. I'll get back to you in 7-8 days. So normally you feel like doing it after 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, something like that.
Okay, I see.
So the question, the horary number that you give is very important in fixing the lagna. It fixes the lagna of the chart.
I see. And from there you can see the.
So asked about that,
Okay.
Yes, exactly. And you also asked about the other question regarding the marks, the querent marks and all that. So, KP, I find Kapil can answer questions which, I cannot think of any other. It was a relative who asked me, what would be my GRE score? Now, I cannot, for the life of me, think of any other system of astrology where I can predict a GRE.
Yes. I think your connection is frozen.
And 320 will be a GRE score.
Okay.
So I said 310 to 320 will be your GRE score. So the actual GRE score was 312. So, I don't think there's a simpler form of astrology. especially if you know Parashara astrology. And I don't think there is a form of astrology which can predict events to the last minute. So I'm not saying that I describes how to predict the event to the last minute. You could go wrong, but that is
Right.
fine.
Like I know you can even predict if what time your plane will come.
Exactly.
2 weeks when you book your ticket, exactly when it will land.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's something I cannot find. There's so far I have not found that in Parashar, like there would be a technique to do that. So, but one thing that many people say about the KP is that somehow all the houses and planets kind of operate at the same time, whether it's the sub-lord, sub-sub-lord, and then if you're looking at the Antradasha lord, they will have a sub. Is that something that you found is that maybe a little contradicting, or it's like it is like
No.
simple cut straight?
It's very straight, very straightforward. There is no complication. In fact, the complication is in Parashara astrology.
Yes.
You know, there are so many divisional charts.
Yeah.
I don't think for an astrologer it is even viable to look at so many divisional charts. You know,
No.
there is no time. You cannot spend 1 hour on a chart or 2 hours on a chart. You know, you just go mad
Yeah.
looking at so
Exactly.
many.
One chart will give you one answer, the other chart will give
Yeah.
you the other answer. This is where I mean, this is where I found like you found yourself in KP. Like once I learned Jaimini astrology, which I'm still learning, that's where I found like, oh my God, okay, this is how Parashara should be. Because with Jaimini, I got so many more answers that I like with education of a person, you can quickly see from Karakam Shalagna. Who
Hmm,
are they?
hmm.
What do they
Yes.
want to learn? Which with Parashara you couldn't figure it out because one planet aspects here, this and there. With is that so? I know exactly what you're saying. So hopefully one day you can come and show us the simplicity of KP and
Yes,
how
sir,
it works.
certainly.
Now, I know many people are going to be curious about getting readings from you and knowing more about you, where can they go to?
Kapil, I do not practice astrology commercially.
Okay.
I so there is nowhere they can. I mean, I don't
Okay.
practice it commercially, but we are going to be doing a course, a crash course on nakshatras. So if they want to learn nakshatras in 12 hours, we're going to be doing a crash course on nakshatras under Cosmic Insights.
Cosmics Insights app. Okay.
So we will be announcing it shortly. So
Perfect.
we think that it is important for people to learn nakshatras, because unless people learn nakshatra, their journey into astrology
No,
is incomplete.
I'm telling
And
you,
yeah,
I had a 3-day crash course, 3-day course with Nakshatra with Dr. Pai 2 weeks ago. And those 3 days were the most valuable 3 days of my entire astrological journey. I was like, this is, I mean, this is what I finally learned. Like, you were talking about like not being able to make predictions and seeing what
yes,
is happening.
yes,
With what I learned with Dr. Pai on Nakshatras, I'm like, this should be the very first thing an individual needs
exactly,
to learn.
exactly.
So absolutely. So guys, download the Cosmic Insights app. There will be a course in 12 hours. They'll announce it in the app. So thank you so much, Bharat Ramji, for coming here. I mean, you're just like to the point. This is it. That's it. And I love that. I love that
Thank,
practical, knowledge that you bring.
thank you very much, Kapil. My greatest pleasure to be on your channel. Thank you very much for inviting me over.
Thank you so much.
Bye
Namaste.
bye.